My goals are simple: to help you win money playing fantasy football. I'm here to change the way fantasy players approach an upcoming season by bringing in people, developing processes, and methods that will increase your chance to win a championship year after year. I'm Buster Brown, and this is Fantasy Football Redemption Rehab.
All right! Thank God it's fantasy football season. I'm Buster Brown, and the show, it's called Redemption Rehab. And if you tuned in, it's because you want to do one thing: get better at fantasy football. Today, we're talking about wide receivers. Where to take them in the draft, why you take them there, and the facts that back it up. So let's get to the chalkboard and check out the facts. Did you know that in 2018, 7 wide receivers had 300 plus points? Did you know that 16 wide receivers had 200 plus points? And a whopping 51 wide receivers had 100 plus points, according to the NFL, for a total of 74 players. That's right, 74 players scored 100 plus points, according to the NFL scoring at wide receiver. That's more than any other position player in fantasy football. Did you know that in 2018, DeAndre Hopkins and Tyreek Hill both scored 334 points according to the NFL? You subtract the number 12 wide receiver, Keenan Allen, with 260 points from the 334 points that the number 1 wide receivers had, and you'll see that it was a 74-point difference between the two. Divide that by the 17 game, and you'll see that that was a paltry 4.3 points per week, per game, between the number 1 wide receiver and the number 12 wide receiver. The reason I give you facts like that is because you have to ask yourself, DeAndre Hopkins, who scored the 334 points last year, is going to be a first-round pick. But Keenan Allen, who scored the 260, is clearly going to be a mid-third round pick, maybe early third-round pick. But with a 4-point difference between the two of them, are you willing to take that chance? Are you willing to take a first-round wide receiver over a first-round running back over 4 points? Let me give you some more facts about wide receivers in 2018. Did you know that 74 wide receivers had 100 plus points? 23 of those had 200 plus points. You compare that to running backs. 47 running backs had 100 plus points. 16 of those had 200 plus points, compared to 18 tight ends that had 100 plus points, and 4 of those had 200 or more points. What does that tell me? It tells me wide receivers are widely available throughout the draft compared to other position players. You can literally pick up a wide receiver from 1 through 20 rounds. Every single round, there is a wide receiver that can make a difference in your league. When you look at waiver wire availability, the waiver wire availability for wide receivers is between 10 to 15%. That usually means that on any given week, you can go to the waiver wire and find a quality wide receiver, or at least a decent one, to play if you have an injury or a bye week. The main reason that I succeed in fantasy football is because I know who's coming in the league. And for us to figure that out, we need to go to one site, drafttech.com. So let's go back and look at 2017 and check out who's coming into the league back then. If you look behind me on the website drafttech.com, you'll see wide receivers coming into the league in 2017. They include players like Mike Williams of San Diego, Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams, Schuster of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Kenny Golladay of the Detroit Lions. Each one of these players has an ADP of round 5 or better. These are just some of your top rookies from the class of 2017 according to DraftTech.com. Knowing the top rookies that come into the league at any position is very important. And in 2018, on DraftTech.com, behind me, you'll see some of the rookie class that came in last year that made an impact. You look at wide receivers like Calvin Ridley of Atlanta, Christian Kirk of the Arizona Cardinals, DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers, Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos, Dante Pettis of the San Francisco 49ers, James Washington of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Michael Gallup of the Dallas Cowboys, and Kiki Kute of the Houston Texans. These were some of your top rookies of 2018 on DraftTech.com. You need to know who's coming in the league at wide receiver to compete. Let's take a look at some of the wide receivers that came into the league this year from the 2019 NFL Draft. They consist of players like METCALF, who went to the Seattle Seahawks, A.J. Brown, who went to the Tennessee Titans, Hakeem Butler, who went down to Arizona, N'Keal Harry, who went to New England, Paris Campbell, who went to the Indianapolis Colts, Deebo Samuels, who went to the San Francisco 49ers, Marquise Brown, who went to the Baltimore Ravens, and Mecole Hardman, who went to the Kansas City Chiefs. The reason you need to know who some of these players are is because they are the top rookie class coming into the NFL. They're going to be some of the players you're going to be drafting in the future. So knowing who's coming in the league is huge. If you want to compete for a championship, you have to know who's coming into the league at all positions. So that brings us to what rounds should you be drafting wide receivers. I usually try to have at least 3 receivers that are starters from rounds 1 through 6. I'll tell you straight out, I rarely take a wide receiver in the first round. After that, I usually take 4 backup wide receivers somewhere between rounds 8 and 20. I put the wide receivers second of 6 on the position player priority list. What does that mean? That means the only position player heading into a draft that I consider more valuable than picking a quality wide receiver is getting a quality running back, then a quality wide receiver, followed by a quality tight end. At some point in the draft, before I take a quarterback, I usually like to have at least 3 running backs, 3 starting wide receivers, and a quality tight end, all prior to drafting a quarterback. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. But that's my plan, and it's one of my strategies going into a draft. I usually have multiple strategies. Some of them usually don't work out. Normally that's the case, so being prepared is part of my draft strategy. When I go into a draft, I make sure I come away with 2 things. It's all about balance in the end and depth when it comes to getting a quality draft. You never know what's going to happen to you in a draft, but being prepared, never panic, and never reach for a player are some of the rules I live by. When you go into a draft, be prepared. In summary, when it comes to drafting wide receivers in an upcoming fantasy league draft, I usually try to have 3 good quality starters by the end of round 6. I usually take 4 backups before round 20, giving me 7 wide receivers in total. The reason why I take so many is because every week I can play 3 plus a flex, possibly 4. Wide receivers are readily available throughout the draft. Don't take too many too early. You're going to find yourself in trouble. I'm Buster Brown. The show's Redemption Rehab. Good luck.